Well, welcome back to another episode of the Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Market Pulse. We're on episode 43 here in Kansas City. Man, it's been a long journey to get to 43 episodes. We've had some incredible guests along the way, and I'm going to introduce to you another incredible guest today. One idea that I've got going on for 2026 is going to be working towards bringing a daily Kansas City commercial real estate market pulse show. So think about Kansas City focused, commercial real estate focused, but every day being able to log in and see and hear and listen to the most up-to-date news. Really cool idea. Our team is working on building it right now so that we can showcase new developments like Brett has got going on here in Kansas City. So super stoked about that, but thank you for tuning in. Little housekeeping before we get started here today. Always live on YouTube. We're always live on LinkedIn. So we are monitoring the chat. So if you have questions for Brett or for myself, please do reach out on one of those channels. Drop that question in there and we will get to it. Just do it throughout and we'll stop through. It's a very interactive show. So thank you for being able to do that. Gabe Einhorn saying, let's go. Absolutely. Juma, one of my good buddies, very unique product that caters to a ton of uses, 100%. And Thaddeus Campbell saying, two of my favorites talking about a beautiful project. Can't wait. So appreciate all of you all for being here and for tuning in to another episode of the show. Let's get into it. Real quick, this is our team here in Kansas City, full service commercial real estate brokerage in regards to development, in regards to leasing up and investment sales and owner occupant sales. Brett, I'm super stoked about this, but the last 2 weeks, we have had 9 deals either go under contract or have offers negotiating on them. And for the past month, we have been presenting and reporting on the data trends in regards to capital flows, not only from a national standpoint, but also here in Kansas City, knowing that the trend is your friend and that Kansas City, markets like Kansas City, typically are lagging those tier 1 markets anywhere from 9 to 12 months. And we know that in Q3, $125 billion, maybe we might get revised up, of real estate was transacted in Q3. Really good markers going into the fourth quarter here in Kansas City. And we are seeing it from a data standpoint, but also anecdotally, we are seeing it here with our team as well. This is another marker I think is really interesting for people to kind of think about. But with all of our listings in the last month, we've had over 90 CAs signed on those listings. And that's not just because we're doing a great job marketing. I sure hope that it is, but that's our job, is to create a market. But really, I think it's because momentum is starting to shift towards those secondary and tier 2 markets like Kansas City. So very excited about that. If you're interested in finding any of those market reports, you can follow my LinkedIn newsletter, The Freeman Factors Beyond Buildings, over on LinkedIn. We got 9,000 people following that for sure on a regular basis. I drop a new episode and a new LinkedIn Market Pulse every Thursday around 7:30 a.m. You can also head over to mwcreadvisors.com and you can join our newsletter there as well. I always have a regular listener popping in here. Caleb Brown is here in Kansas City saying things are heating up, my friend. I know you're busy out there doing deals. Can't wait to talk to you about how the rest of the year has ended up for you. But thanks for being here, my friend. Things definitely are heating up. Today's guest, all right, Brett Johnson, 25-year real estate development veteran. You know, Brett, the last couple guests we've had on have had Alan Buchanan, had 41 years of experience. Corey Zelnick, 35 years of experience. And now we've got Brett here with 25 years of experience on the development side. You've got deep experience across the multifamily side of things, mixed use, workforce housing, and specialty projects throughout the Midwest and in Texas. As the co-founder of Overland Property Group, Brett spent 2 decades leading the development of more than 70 projects totaling over $800 million in value. Wow. Guiding the company through growth, stabilization, and ultimately a successful sale to a REIT prior to COVID. After exiting OPG, Brett invested in and helped build several companies, including filtration technologies, an advanced water treatment system, and ACE Rapid Response, an emergency mitigation and restoration firm, successfully exiting both of those investments. So the idea of what we're going to be talking about today, I'm going to let Brett talk about this, emerged in January of this year after Brett sold his personal man cave garage and realized that there's really no scalable product existed for small businesses, hobbyists, or lifestyle users seeking that high quality workspace and storage. Right, that unmet demand, which I can validate here because we are working on a lot of different lease up projects. That unmet demand became the foundation for FlexCaves, which is a new Ready Flex category, blending workspace, storage, retail, and lifestyle design into a scalable national platform. And I feel blessed and honored to be introduced to Brett from some very good friends. We always shout out the guys over at FlexSpace Domination, the authors, Cody Payne and his team, Michael Tran, with those guys down in Texas. So very gracious for you guys making the connection. Brett, I've enjoyed getting to meet you, see how you work, being involved in your project, and just very excited to have you here on the show today. So welcome to the Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Market Pulse.
Wow. Thanks, Logan. That's quite an introduction. I feel like a novice compared to your previous guest. Kind of sounds like I can't hold down a job either. I've got a few of them rattled off there that I've been doing recently. No, this is great. First time being on a live show like this. My son does sports radio. I don't know how he does it for as long as he does it, but we're about to find out if I've got any of his ability.
I'm pretty confident that you do, Brett. Being able to talk with you and meet you, and one thing that I want to make sure that I point out, guys like you and I always, my wife said, she looked at me, about 10 years ago and said, you know what, I'm pretty sure you're unemployable.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's necessarily job hunting. You're a professional opportunist, and that is what Sam Zell used to call himself, a professional opportunist. You see trends, you see unmet demand, and then you go work to fill that supply. So I don't think that's job hunting or jumping at all. I very much think that it's the entrepreneur's mindset, and I appreciate that about you.
Wow. Well, I'm going to have you write my bio. I'm going to make notes on all that. That was great. Yeah, I know my business partners in the past and current are probably like, oh, yeah, he won't have any trouble speaking forever. That's what he likes to do and suck the air out of the room. But I do really appreciate this opportunity. I recognize some of the guys that are watching this. Shout out to Thaddeus. Appreciate all the introductions you've given me. But yeah, it's been quite a journey. Again, most of my career was spent doing real estate development. Was very fortunate in that, surrounded myself with not only good partners and people who work for us, but third party people as well. So,
Yes.
the contractors, the attorneys, even, it's, if you surround yourself with enough talented people, you can get a lot done. And we were very fortunate to do that. I learned quite a bit through trial and error in development. Most of it's solving problems you probably weren't even aware you had, generally created by people that you didn't know or you weren't aware were involved in your process. But that over the years has really helped me to kind of hone in on what works. And even though I'm now transitioning over from multifamily into commercial, the basic aspects are all the same. You're evaluating sites both politically, financially. You're looking to see what's viable out there. You're constantly on the lookout for that right site, but you're also wary of the NIMBY aspect of it. And whether that's affordable housing or it's flex space, you're always going to have to deal with that. We've been pretty lucky on this first site here in Kansas City, which is located in Merton City, as you're aware. So, taking all of those skill sets and trying to apply them to a different field within the real estate world, and then looking for opportunities within commercial, I think was the real key. But I was fortunate. This came out of a personal need. You mentioned that I built my own man cave. It was part of a flex space industrial park here in Kansas City, and I built it out so well that everybody liked coming to it. We'd watch games there. It was fully decked out with a couple of 12-foot screens and had a mezzanine. It was HVAC. Everything was there that you could possibly want. and I was approached by a real estate agent who said they had a client that wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
They had heard about it, and I said it's not for sale. As of course, as the story goes, everything has a price, and eventually they made me an offer I couldn't refuse, which instantly put me in the position of where am I going to go now? And as we all have learned, finding that perfect spot, not only that you could build one or even have the opportunity to, it's very difficult. And that's not just a Kansas City problem, that is a national problem. So, over the holidays last year, a few weeks after I closed on the sale, I sat down and kind of sketched out a business plan. I thought, all right,
Yeah.
you're a real estate developer. If you can't find what you want out there, why don't you build it? And so the birth of FlexCaves happened basically New Year's Day. And since that time, have secured the site, have gone through the entitlement process, and now we're at the submittal stage for permitting, doing the fun side of things, which is the equity raise, dealing with lenders, hammering out the private placement memorandums with attorneys. Those are all the things that you got to do. But it's certainly been an adventure, and I couldn't be more happy with the people like yourself, like Cody, like Michael Tran that I've met, read their book, to try and find any little advantage that I can. And I think with Flex Caves, there's a real opportunity there.
Absolutely, 100%. I appreciate you talking about the moment that you kind of realize, it's like this is a personal need, but now let me go see what is out there in the marketplace, and being able to look at that trend and be like, you know what, there's an opportunity to really supply this space right here. And we've got many questions coming in here, so we're going to get right to it. Multiple people, Marissa, thank you. She's asking, what is a flex cave? So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, let's get into it, man. I think that people want to know what this is. My gosh, the demand. I know you can't see this, but I'm watching all the comments and the likes and the loves and the claps on LinkedIn right now, just on my phone, and it's going wild right now. So let's get into it, Brad. What have you created? What is Ready Flex Space when storage meets lifestyle, man? People want to know.
Well, thank you for dropping Ready Flex. I've been trying to get that viral if I can. Ready Flex is kind of a term that kind of just appeared to me after going to the Small Bay Convention in New York last month. And, within the flex space sector, you've got Small Bay out there, but I didn't think that really fit what this product specifically is. I think it's a niche within Small Bay, and I call it Ready Flex as a generic term. In fact, I want the industry to use that. That's not a marketing thing. That's something that says this product out of the box is ready for the user.
Yes.
That's everything from fully sheetrock, your HVAC systems in. It's got a bathroom. It's got the mezzanine. It's got the kitchenette. It's got the big ass fan. It's got everything that an end user wants that doesn't want to have to deal with TI, doesn't want to become a contractor and a GC to oversee it. So that was the initial emphasis behind ReadyFlex. Now, Flex
Okay.
Caves is the real estate brand platform. And to simplify what it is, it's really a modern flex campus that's built for small businesses, creators, solopreneurs, car collectors, lifestyle users. It could be a youth sports coach, could be a private small business that wants a place to have his golf simulator and maybe his office. But what we all know is a lot of that space hasn't been built for people like that. What you've got are a lot of industrial parks that do have small bays that can be built out, but they're not conducive to what the end user that I'm targeting wants. So when you take the functionality of flex space in general, and then the accessibility of storage and the design quality of retail, and merge that into one cohesive platform, I think there's a huge opportunity out there. Even though it's a small niche, I think the goal would be to have this as a scalable, repeatable brand that we could take out there, just like I did at Overland Property Group with our branded product in our apartments. A lot of people at the Small Bay Summit talked about Small Bay being apartments for businesses, and that's
Mhm.
exactly what this is. The one thing that's a little bit different, and we'll get into this here, I'm sure, but there's three components within FlexCaves. And again, this first development here in Kansas City will be the pilot test of that. But we are bringing a retail component to the front of this property. And I know that that's been done in a few different variations. Usually mom and pop operations are doing this, but we're trying to create that campus where you've got the visibility site, you've got that high traffic, you've got walkability, and then behind that, inside the perimeter, if you will, the secured perimeter, you've got your different types of trade caves and your luxury caves in the back. All of that is where I think FlexCaves has an opportunity to grab that brass ring that's out there that no one has done. Now, that said, I know there's some really good developers that have done products like this, but I think the struggle for a lot of them is they don't know who they are quite yet. And I think the real opportunity is to take what a storage mart did and roll that out as a national brand platform. And there's a lot of opportunity out there. It's not just one that's going to win this. I think the start of it begins now, and we're trying our best to be that first national player.
Yeah, most definitely. Just got to pull this up on the screen. See, Marissa is saying, yes, I need to see this. Well, we're going to show you a video here very soon, Marissa, that you'll be able to take a look at. But we're going to get through a couple more slides and let Brett continue talking about this, right? This Ready Flex category. And I think that you really did a good job kind of describing the three different product types, right? And I think that this shows kind of a little bit more of the concept. We hit on this last time, it being more than storage, less than necessarily industrial, exactly what most users need, right? And I think that you are positioned, right, to become the category leader in this space. So what I want to showcase now is this slide right here, because when I was learning about your new, this new model or the way that you were putting this together, me studying this slide really helped me understand that. So let's talk through the shop caves, the pro caves, and the prime caves here.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm a developer, but I think secretly I wanted to be on Mad Men. I love marketing. I love your job, Logan. I think it's a lot of fun. It's really rewarding when you can see something as simple as the naming of an apartment complex come to life, and people refer to your product or the unique things that you do differently. So when I set out to build this, it wasn't just as a one-off development. I wanted it to be brandable. So under the FlexCave umbrella, there are three different types of, I hate using the word units now. We call them caves, but we've got the shop caves, which are up front. You've got your pro caves, which are designed for your tradesmen. Even you could have a interior decorator in a pro cave. Your prime caves are going to be the ones that are your luxury units. But keep in mind, all of these are built out. These are not shells that require the tenant to come in and reconfigure walls or make decisions. We have taken that step for them. And again, that's not for everybody, but we have taken square footages that we feel fit in that sweet spot, if you will, for each user type. The prime caves also could be businesses, but I think we're targeting more of your high net worth individuals on that. So when we have all of these trademark brand names, that's with the thought process of making this a scalable platform. Whether or not that's something that we end up doing on our own, or it becomes something that we franchise out or license out, those are decisions that are impossible to make right now. But as we look at that layout, and that's a very rudimentary slide that I wanted to put together, a lot of this is education and getting the lenders to understand this, getting investors to understand this. What freaks them out is they hear, oh, this is different. It's a new asset class. Come to me after you've done one. Well, we don't have time for that. I need to get this going. And so what I decided to do was break this down into its basic forms. These are all products that have been funded before, whether it's a lender or an investor. They've dealt with retail, they've dealt with warehouse, they've dealt with storage. What we're doing is we're making a hybrid of that in the FlexCave brand family. So, what we want, when we look at the shop caves up front, that's the key. That's the absolute key to site selection. You cannot put this in your standard industrial park. It's not going to work. You can certainly have prime caves. You can do your pro caves anywhere. But the real differentiator and perhaps a barrier to entry is finding that perfect site like we have in Martin City, where it's got that daily traffic. It's got restaurants nearby. It's got entertainment nearby. It's a place people want to go. So when you have that customer facing front, which I think you'll see in some of the renderings later, is attractive, and it's a place small businesses and entrepreneurs want to go, they also want to have a place to keep their inventory. And there's a ton of those guys that during COVID, either came up with the idea or it's a husband and wife team and they started an online e-commerce business or an Etsy shop and they're operating out of their spare bedroom or their basement. And they've evolved over time. And now they've got that local customer base where they've got orders that can be picked up on site or even shopped for, but they also need that distribution component. And a lot of times you're seeing people having to rent two different spaces for that. So what we're trying to do is economize that all into one. The pro caves, everybody has seen that model. You instantly think of your roofer or your
Mhm.
landscape company, and there's always going to be that. But what I noticed when I had my man cave, it was scattered throughout the complex, and there was a lot of disadvantages to that. You could be next to a car dealer or a car detailer whose water is coming underneath the wall in between. So what we've tried to do is segregate that in a way that makes sense for the user. And I think you'll see that as we move forward.
Absolutely, 100%. So some notes from my just taking consideration. I've been working with Brett on this project for some time, so I've got a little more head start on most of the listeners here. But there's no dominant brand in the small bay flex space nationwide. There's been a boom in small businesses, online sellers, trades, and hobbyists. One thing that we always talk about on this show is that in 2010 to 2014, the statistics that I could find showed that we nearshored or onshored just under 40,000 jobs per year. If you fast forward 10 years, 10, 15 years to 2023 to 2024, that number jumped to 450,000 jobs, right? So there absolutely has been a boom in small businesses. Additionally, businesses looking to, control their supply chains and be able to have last mile delivery, right? All of these different components. So users need space that is safe. They need space that is accessible. They need space that's versatile and customizable, right? And what we find on a regular basis is that mom and pop operators definitely dominate this space, but there's a lot of inconsistent quality and there are no amenities on these things. So I think the timing is aligning very well with the hybrid work, with the creator economy, with vehicle storage, shop space. You got micro entrepreneur growth. I think there's an opportunity here to see. So I'm so excited that you are working on that. But I do have a question, Red. Like, my question to you is this: is I know there's other operators out there trying to do this, right? But why do you think no one else has grabbed kind of this niche yet? Like what is it about it? They just haven't figured it out? Are they just trying to figure it out? Or, in my opinion, are they landlocked in regards to a lot of zoning restrictions in good areas that this product type needs to go into? Or is it a combo?
I think the answer is yes to a lot of that, if not all of
Okay.
it. Um, One advantage that I think I have coming into this is that I didn't know anything about it. And
Mm,
when I went to the Small Bay Summit and saw these guys that had the 40 years experience in storage and knew everything about warehouse, and I thought to myself, okay, well, if that's what they've known, no wonder some of these early evolutions into this category, the Ready Flex category, are still the same product.
yeah,
And when you look at these big buildings that are getting developed, sure, it's great to do those. They're cheap to build, uh, pretty low maintenance, and you go pop up a wall and you say how many square feet do you want, and we'll put up the other wall. I don't think that's what my customer base is going to want. And again, I'm assuming they're out there, but I was one of them. So what I wanted was
mm,
something I didn't have to mess with for 4 months and going through the permitting process. So I think what's out there now, and there are some really good ones, and I'm just going to call one of them out. Personal warehouse is probably the biggest. Now there's others
yeah,
out there, the garage guys and so on and so forth. I think they're on the right track and they've got some really nice, cool unit types, but I don't know that they're quite there yet in terms of the hybrid approach of bringing in the retail component. Not
sure.
that they couldn't, but again, that's site restrictive. So you've got to find that perfect spot. And again, that might be proven to be the challenge, but also a barrier to entry. So I don't know that anyone's wrong right now because when you look at personal warehouse and you go on all of their different sites where they've got these, they're full and they're selling them, they're leasing them, and they're having great success with it. But I think there's enough room in this space for different angles and approaches to it. So
Absolutely.
one of the things outside of just the shop caves that we've got is we are focused heavily, and we are partnered up with a great company that's here in Kansas City, actually right down the street in Martin City, called Secure Passage. And it's a Gary Fish company. He owns some of the coolest technology out there when it comes to security. But when you think about industrial and you think about flex parks, typically it's a padlock. At best, it's a controlled access gate with maybe one camera. What we're doing with Secure Passage goes way beyond just security. It's a technology package that we're working on with them. And some of the stuff that I can share with you, we will have AI cameras positioned throughout the complex. These are not just watching for perpetrators. They're looking at everything from license plate reader to facial recognition. We have an autonomous drone that is monitored round the clock by Secure Passage, so that if someone is on the perimeter and it's 2 a.m. and they try to penetrate the fence or scale the fence, the drone automatically is notified by the AI cameras. It launches, it flies to the site, it lights them up, it notifies them that security's on the way, the police have been notified, and it records everything. This is next level when it comes to security. And particularly when you think about some of those users, everybody wants a secure place. But when you've got supercars in your prime cave that are $750,000 and up, you want to know exactly what's happening there. And I think what we're doing is we're catering to them, but we're also providing data, which could be very valuable to the shop cave owners. And those guys will want to know, what's the daily traffic here? What types of demographics are coming by my store? Who's coming in the parking lot? One of the coolest demos I ever saw was when I got to Secure Passage's headquarters. Their camera recognized my face from my previous visit, notified the front desk that Brett Johnson's walking in the building, and here were the last times he was here. If you think about how that could help a retailer to know that, hey, Mr. Smith just pulled in. Last time he was here, this is his purchase. Don't forget to ask him about his wife and her birthday coming up. Those are things that we're not there yet in a lot of places, especially not in our industry. So we're trying to make this something cutting edge and different in a lot of different ways.
Absolutely. Well, that is an incredible resource for not only the shop caves, but everybody here involved. And I'll just put this back up on the screen again. Secure Passage. You can check them out. Kansas City company. I eat down there in Martin City. I drive by the Secure Passage building on a regular basis. I've seen it in action on the videos and things like that as well. I do want to give another shout out to another one of our listeners, Derek Cox. He says, "This is very intriguing, gents. Wish I could stay longer to learn more, but have to jump. All best with this product." Hey, Derek, give us a ring. Let's talk about it. We're happy to chat with you about this product and what you do in the industry. Additionally, this is being recorded. This will be out on all Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, everything that you need, to find it on all of the podcast platforms. Also, it's on YouTube and on LinkedIn. But thank you for being here, Derek. Brett, what do you think about dropping the 30-second spot right now? I mean, we talked a lot about it.
Yeah, let's. Water. Why don't we do
it? Let's do it. Let me see if I can get this created. Or this put together here. So I'm going to share a different screen here. Make sure I get this correct. I want to share a video here. Let me get this on full screen so everybody can see it. Perfect. All right, we're going to hit play. Let's watch this video.
Welcome to FlexCaves, the next evolution in premium storage, workspaces, and lifestyle. This isn't space you just rent. It's space that reflects who you are. And whatever you choose to put inside your cave, our advanced AI threat detection secures it from the outside. FlexCaves, built for ambition, ready when you are. More than just space. It's a launch pad.
Awesome video, man. I do think that does a great job kind of giving an overview. If anybody here does want to go check out more, just head over to flexcaves.com. So much information that Brett has put together there as well on the website. So we'll drop that link in here so everybody has that as well so you can look at it. But we're doing a great job. Brett's doing a great job given us a really solid overview. That video, all of your marketing, gives people what they need to understand. And that's something that you and I have talked about quite a bit here, right? Is really understanding how to educate the marketplace about what this is, right? But I do want to kind of talk a little bit about your team, because this is such a strong component to what you are putting together, in my opinion, right? It's like you're working with some of the best, builders and folks in the industry. But talk to us a little bit about how you've assembled that team, why that's so important, not just for the development investors in the project, yourself, but also the end users, guys.
Yeah, that really goes back to the beginnings with Overland Property Group. We knew when we were particularly young and inexperienced that we needed people around us that knew what the hell they were doing, because we were dealing with federal tax credits. And for those that aren't aware of how that works, it's a lot of red tape. It's a highly competitive process. And when you're being underwritten by Capital One or JP Morgan Chase or even American Express, who's purchasing your tax credits, they're in the deal with you. They're not just lending money. They're equity partners, and they expect you to deliver. And it's typically a 10-year program that they're buying into. So what we learned back then, you can't skimp on anything. You can't skimp on the contractor. You've got to have architects that work well with them. You've got to have a strong legal team. You've got to have engineers that are willing and able to be mobile. With Arco, who we met through the apartment development world, we realized at the beginning of FlexCaves that they were a perfect partner to team up with, because actually they're much more experienced even than apartments that they are in the industrial side. So they're national. They can go anywhere. And keep in mind, the plan here is to build this as a real estate brand platform. We need somebody that can help us replicate this over and over again and knows it inside and out. They are not just the contractor, they're also the architect. So they have in-house GMA as their architect. So they helped and worked with me, not on just the plans, but those renderings that you just saw in that social media ad. Those are actual renderings. We aren't out of the ground yet, but I wanted them to spend the time on that so that we could show people this is different. This is not personal storage. This is not self-storage. And they did an excellent job, as you can see there. That went a long ways in not only convincing the landowner to option the ground to me, but to convince the CID in Martin City, which is the business owners of that area, as well as the planning department at Kansas City, Missouri, and city council. Because when they heard storage, they thought, nope, not happening. We're not rezoning this. And then they saw this. So I would encourage anybody that's in any type of real estate development, spend the time and money up front, get actual renderings that are animated, that move, that you can then cut up and utilize in your marketing going forward. And we have gotten a lot of response to this social media post. We have 4 or 5 different versions of this ad out there, including an investor pitch, which is much longer. But for people to be able to visualize this, especially a new concept and potentially a new category with ReadyFlex, we had to have this. So
Yes,
that's kind of where we focused on it. But what you're seeing there on the screen, that's what it's going to look like. And there are 51 caves. You've got 4 buildings, as you can see there, the shop caves in the front. And then you've got your perimeter gates and fencing beyond that. So it's critical that we were able to communicate that visually.
absolutely, 100%. You've done a great job doing that. We're getting to the end of our overview here, Brett. So I want to just kind of just give everybody, if you're just tuning in, because we've had a lot of new listeners just coming in, go back and watch the first 33 minutes of this, but just talk about the full on FlexCaves opportunity as you see it, right? Over the next 3 to 5 years, and being able to execute on that. And we'll then point people into the right direction here, but we have to go to my favorite segment of the show, which is going to be quick takes. So we'll transition from FlexCaves here in a second, so everybody can get to know you just a little bit more, which I think will be helpful. But just put a bow on the FlexCaves opportunity for us.
Yeah, well, for those just joining, this is a unique blend. It's a hybrid, if you will, of retail and storage and industrial space, if you will. I think there's an opportunity nationally to scale this. There's really only 3 choices when you're out there today looking. You're looking at that self-storage, which you can't operate a business out of legally. You could go to a retail space, but a lot of times that doesn't provide you enough storage space.
Mm.
When you're looking at this from a macro perspective, every market in the country has the users we're talking about. I think the COVID user who has started up their business, the solopreneurs, the high net worth guys, they're all looking to get away from the office, and they want a place where it's their lifestyle. It's not, that sterile corporate environment. And I think that's where the shop caves will really shine. But the opportunity is immense. And I think for anybody that's looking into this as a potential development opportunity, I would encourage you to look and see what's out there in your market, because I think what you'll find is vacancy is small. Opportunities for new development are immense. It's a matter of finding that right site. And I think hopefully we'll be able to prove that up here in Kansas City.
Absolutely. Fantastic job, Brett. Very exciting opportunity here. All right. We're going to get into our quick takes with Brett. All right, man. Let me get to know you a little bit better, because all we've done is talked about business a little bit. Now, I do know some of your hobbies, obviously, but what about your favorite book or podcast that you tune into on a regular basis?
Gosh. Well, as I mentioned earlier in the show, my son is a radio personality, and he is the host of a Royals podcast, Locked on Royals. So check
Okay.
him out, Jack Johnson. I have to say that. I got to plug him.
100%. Absolutely. Shout out to Jack Johnson. Go check out the show.
Oh, man. Let's see. One lesson that I wish I would have learned earlier in my career. You know, uh, saying everything that's on your mind in a public setting is probably something I didn't know as well as I learned over time. You don't have to throw out every idea you've got in front of city council, because a lot of times they'll make you do it. Uh, you know, Speaking to investors, a lot of times they don't need to know everything about the financial aspect of your deal. So I've learned to defer a lot over time. So that's probably one that I wish I would have known sooner.
Absolutely. Great advice there. Okay. So, how about some best business advice that you've received? I mean, you've been in the industry doing real estate development, so many people trying to get into that space, right? And it's hard to break into. I understand that, but you've been doing it for 25 years now. So, if you were to give somebody, some advice that were just trying to get started or break into the industry, what would that be?
It'll sound cliche, but you've got to think differently. And,
Mm,
especially if you're trying to break into an industry or a sector. I had zero money. I had less than money when I started Overland Property Group, but I realized that there was an opportunity through the federal tax credit program. There's always a way, and there's always people out there that can help you. So explore those options. Don't let it deter you. Yes, you've got to suck it up sometimes, but the payoff is worth it. So I would say, look where there's opportunities that others aren't filling, and fill that void. And
yeah.
that's good advice for anything, whether it's your job or a new business. You may not be right all the time, but you've got to always be looking for that.
Excellent, excellent. John Wooden is one of my favorite. I'll call him a mentor, but author, coach, whatever. He says that success, what he defined it as, the self satisfaction in knowing that you did the best job that you were capable of doing. So you finished this sentence for us. Success means what to Brett?
I would have to say that it means you're excited not only when you get up in the morning to go do it, but you can't stop thinking about it at night.
Mm,
And if that's the case, like they always say, you'll never work a day in your life if you love it. So finding that passion, no matter what it is, and believe me, you'll find it in areas you didn't think you were passionate about. This happens to be one of them. And at this stage of my career, to be launching something brand new is a little scary, but I love that. I love the challenge. I love the danger of it. I love the risk. And I think if people take that approach, they're going to find themselves in a really good place.
absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Brett. That's one of my favorite segments of our show, is the quick take, so I can get to know our guests a little bit better. I'm going to put flexcaves.com up on the screen, but I'm sure there's other handles and social media that the people can go follow you at. So point people in the right direction. Here's the website, everybody. We've dropped this in the comments a couple of times.
Yeah, it's something I kind of learned from, actually, going back to my previous experience. I went out and instantly trademarked and branded everything under FlexCaves. So whether it's
Mhm.
Twitter or X or Instagram, everything is at FlexCaves, including the website domain. Um, we really haven't pushed hard yet on the marketing. We're working with a great team in Midwest CRE that's helping us with that. But I think, if you can standardize things and get that platform out there and really push the brand, that's important. And a lot of people think, oh, come on, it's just a real estate development. How serious can it be? Well, take a look at Storage Mart. How serious was it for them to have that brand and that recognition? And that's important when it comes to everything from customer recognition to investor respect to lender respect. So you can find us virtually anywhere. We're working our butt off to try and get in that top 3 on Google searches, and I think right now we're close.
Awesome. Well, Brett, it's been an honor to have you here on the show. I commend you for being able to take the idea from a personal need and going and finding that demand out there in the marketplace and working on fulfilling that and supplying that. So I'm very excited for the project. I'm very excited for Flex Caves, and I think what you're doing is absolutely phenomenal. So thank you for joining the show.
Hey, you bet, Logan, and we'll reserve a prime cave for you so you can host your podcast from there starting end of next year.
Now that would be awesome. That would be awesome. And so now look, if you're ready to get started, you want to learn more about FlexCaves, you can go to flexcaves.com, or you can reach out to myself and the team at mwcreadvisors.com. Just go to the website. We've got a lot of influx of people calling us and emailing us about trying to get stuff done before the end of the year. Okay, so if that's your goal, then you need to get on it, right? I'm leaving this office right now, and I'm going to my 4th property tour already this week. So things are moving, things are happening. Definitely reach out to us so we can connect with you and learn more about your investment goals. So that's a wrap for today's show. Brett, again, I really appreciate you being here. I'm excited to continue working together on this project. And we will be back here in another week with another episode of the Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Market Pulse. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for all the questions. If we didn't get to a question that you might have, we're trying to keep our segments down to about 45 minutes. We're going to do it today. Just email myself. You can find us on LinkedIn as well, Midwest Commercial Real Estate Advisors. I'm all over LinkedIn, Logan Freeman, flexcaves.com to find more about Brett, or reach out to me. I can point you in the right direction. Thanks again for joining us today for the episode 43 of the Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Market Pulse. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.